Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Zwift Community Lab broadcast of the Dig Deep Coaching stage number 20 out on Zwift. We are replicating the winning moves in the Tour de France along with coaches from Dig Deep Coaching. We're in workout mode out on Zwift, and I'm on a bike doing it right along with the athletes. I want to welcome into the program both Stephen Gallagher and Philip Digner to the program as riders are getting into warm-ups. I have a couple of qualifying comments. We are, I think, lowering Nathan's FTP today just a little bit because I think it's only been how long since we did the last one, Stephen?
I think it's probably about about 10 hours maybe from the last time you've been killing yourself on a indoor trainer. So we'll let you away with this, that you can know your FTP today. So you also have to help us broadcast the show, which takes quite a bit of energy and concentration as well. So that's not trying to see your heart rate going back up to 189.
Taking it easy on me there today, but we're getting into the warm up here. Let's talk a little bit about what the stage is all about here today and what we're doing. So, and I'll start messing with all the scenes, and I can already feel this. Oh my goodness! Here we go.
So today is obviously stage 20. It's the last time trial of the Tour de France. It's probably the last main stage for anybody to try and move up or move down in the general classification. It's been exciting right to this point. So today obviously is going to be quite an intense effort, quite short though. One thing is, anybody who has seen the profile of today's stage will know that it is not flat. It's very rolling, it's very twisting terrain. There's lots of twists and turns that's going to leave the riders having to vary their power and vary their distribution of effort. So because of that, it's not a flat line effort. A lot of people have the perception that time trials are flat line efforts trying to pace one effort out, which is to an extent trying to be within a certain zone. But whenever you see a course like this, and whenever you have certainly the demands and steep climbs, like there's a climb here at the end, it's averaging 10%, and I think I've seen that it goes up to one section of it, maybe goes up to like 14-17%, something like that at the end. So it's very, very steep, especially for those guys that are going to be doing it on a time trial bike. So we're going to be changing up quite a bit. We start off at 10 minutes at 93% of your FTP. Then we start building it up. We'll have different cadences as well as we start, going over some rolly terrain. But really the sting in the tail is at the end with a really hard 2 minutes, going up to 110, 105% at a real low cadence on that last climb before a fast finish down into the last 5 minutes into Esplanade.
All right, so let's take a look at that in relationship to the actual workout. This is workout mode. Do you want to give a quick explanation of how workout mode works and how you've interacted with it in order to create these workouts here?
Okay, so for anybody who hasn't been seen what we've been doing over these last 3 weeks, is we've been building these workouts to replicate each stage of the Tour de France. What we've been doing is taking data that we have had from years of experience, trying to looking at race analysis and power from actual riders that are in races like the Tour de France. Along with my colleague Philip Digner here, we work for different publications doing data analysis, namely Training Peaks and Cycling Tips, and in the past Cycling News, and for different organizations. And so we have try and have this bank of knowledge and information and our own experiences from racing on how we feel that these stages will go. And so what we do is we've built these workouts looking at power distribution of efforts, and we have used times from Strava on certain climbs. Anybody again who's been doing it the last couple of weeks will know that we've actually been trying to mimic the times of certain climbs as well, and trying to mimic the gradients of what we'll be doing. Like we went up d'Huez there last week. We've been up yesterday. We went up a lot of the bigger climbs as well that we've been doing, and going up like the Tourmalet and the Obisque and everything. So it's been a really hard couple of weeks, and today we're going to build that, again, my perception and what I feel the riders are going to be doing. Again, the guys that are going full gas and the effort distribution that they'll have to do around their FTP. So the beauty is it's built around your percentage. What you see here on the left-hand side of the screen is Nathan's FTP and Nathan's wattage, but that's not obviously what you need to follow. You're following your own FTP. So you can see here, he set it there at the minute, he's going to do his 10 minutes ramp up there at the start at 235 watts. That's going to be very different for anybody else with obviously a different FTP. So it's very specific to you. You're going to get a lot out of it. I'm going to do a bit of coaching during it and explaining how to pace it, how to be able to get through the ride as good as possible. I will try and encourage Nathan to get his heart rate back up to near 200 BPM, which was seen there the last couple of days, and yeah, give a bit of feedback on how I feel he's going and what we need to do to keep going. But yeah, that's how we've built these workouts, and we've had people join us every day for almost 3 weeks. So to use guys and girls that are here today, congratulations on nearly getting to the finish. And it's great to have such a big following who's been with us over the 3 weeks. So,
if anyone during the broadcast that is over on Zwift's Facebook does have questions or comments, go ahead and bring them right on in. Aaron Locks, who's been doing every single day of the Grand Tour, is saying hello, showing you all how to do so. So. Get interactive. We are watching the Mixer chat. We are watching Twitter. If you do at Z Community Live over on Twitter, we'll be able to bring in that comment. Or if you do comment on the Facebook, questions are very highly welcome, as well as just chatter around today's stage or yesterday's stage, as we do have some data coming in today from both from yesterday's stage, and then as well as obviously the profile, and look forward to the time trial today, as that is the workout that we're doing. So bring all the questions and comments on in as needed. So Philip, what's Philip's role in this whole deal? Like, how does it so because he's been working hard in the background, right? I mean, every day I hear Philip referenced, and love to hear more about how that all works.
Yeah, so I've been looking at the data as well, been doing some graphical analysis of the data and looking at the same stuff that Stephen has been looking at, and really analyzing how the riders have developed their efforts over the past couple of weeks in these super tough mountain stages that you've been replicating. And yeah, it's been quite a tough Tour de France with some interesting data, and especially this last week has been super fatiguing, and it's been interesting to see how that has been developing.
Yeah, it's been really hard. I think we've talked about it quite a lot. The heat has played a massive impact, I think, in the guys in the Tour de France this year. That certainly can't be underestimated. How difficult that has been day after day. The temperatures right from day one, basically, when they were in the northwest of France. And it's been a real. It's been really hard. And, I think we've seen the last couple of days, and we're going to show a bit of data later on from yesterday's stage. I think we've got Mikel Nieves and Ian Boswell's data from yesterday, but it has been very intensive. And, I think it gets to the point where yesterday, I think Dan Martin actually really summed it up yesterday. If you've seen his tweet he put out yesterday, he basically said, that stage was just a lot of very tired men trying to ride up mountains very, very fast and trying to beat each other, but all very tired. And I think that was pretty much summed it up. What it summed it up what he was doing, or how things have been going. So
definitely,
but
just looking at the time differences yesterday, you can see that these riders are they're just on the last reserve. Some of them probably are just looking forward to go home, getting to Paris, and then getting this over with, while some others are maybe still looking for a stage win today or tomorrow, but most are just super fatigued. You can see that the 30th place rider yesterday was nearly 20 minutes down, and you can see that these riders would probably hang in most pro continental races now when they had to do them against fresh riders somewhere else.
Philip, just maybe while Nathan's getting into this this first 10-minute effort, again for anybody here who's riding, just try and pace this first 10 minutes as as simple as possible. Try and not go over that 93%, 94%, because it does get harder later on, and you don't want it to come back and bite you in the butt later on. So try and keep as focused as possible. But I mean, on this actual particularly this last sort of 2 weeks when we've come into the mountains, is there anything in particular that you have seen from a data analysis from what we have looked at that has been particularly interesting, or let's say has surprised you in any way of how they have particularly performed? Is there anything that has kind of stand out?
I think the main takeaway to me is that there hasn't been really these standout performances that we may have seen in the past. That the tour has been a really, really close to the France. You can see how many riders are still very close together. And I think that is also reflected in the data, where you see that these riders are very close together. There's not one rider that's putting out so much more power to weight on the climbs than anyone else is. But what you really see is that these riders are so close, and you don't see long solo attacks that are successful from one of the favorites. They're all really close together. And I mean, we've been looking at Nieves' data, especially over these past couple of weeks, and you can see that his power on the climbs has been very consistent. He's been in this 5.5 to 5.8 watts per kilogram range when he needs to go with the groups every day, and he's been in like 5 or 6 breakaways in the mountains now. And he's never really had this one standout performance where he had to go 6.2, 6.3, what you have maybe seen in the past before. And I think his 20-minute peak power was exactly 6 watts per kilogram, and he's never been over that. And that is really what you would expect from credible performance in these Tour de France's. And you can it's been just all really close and really what you would expect from these riders when they're fatiguing. Now it's been maybe a bit down, but no one's really shown these Pantani-like performances from the past.
Yeah, I mean, this is from yesterday's stage here. Mikel Nieve at the start. The actual intensity to get that initial break gone. I think Mikel Nieve went across to Alpha Philippe and a couple of other guys, and you can see here he had a peak effort just on that. There was a Cat 4 climb with the Côte de Capervan Les Bains. I've probably destroyed that name, by the way, but he had sounds good to you. So yeah, it was 383 watts at just 6.5 watts per kilo there for 5 minutes. So that was his peak 5-minute power of the day at the start to get in that break. And again, that's something really that we have seen a lot in the intensity at the start of the stages has been really extreme. Especially there was it 2 or 3 days ago where it took 100 kilometers for the break to go. That intensity at the start, most of the peak powers, particularly from guys like Nieve, that role is to get into the early break and to try and hang on, or to work for obviously Adam Yates or whatever, that their peak powers are all at the start. So again, that's very interesting. And even I think we have Ian Boswell as well yesterday, who wasn't part of the early break. He was obviously there to set up his his team leader later on. But his peak 2 minutes at the start was on that same climb. He wasn't trying to, he wasn't in the break. He was in the peloton, but just to stay in it, I think he was at 7.3 watts per kilo for 2 minutes on that 4th category climb. Again, that was a peak power for the day. So yeah, we've seen a lot of that. Philip, having a lot of the peak powers earlier on in the days.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of peak powers there, even from some of the front runners who've been needing to hang with the front group there, and then you can see how the power really declines over the course of the climbs. And that's where we maybe on some of the mythical climbs we haven't seen the same climbing times that we've seen in the past, because the riders seem to really have to pace themselves, probably in parts due to the heat, probably in part to just being super fatigued from a very fast Tour de France from stage 1. We had a super tough week 1, which probably didn't look as tough on the profile, but the riders really feel that now, especially the Roubaix stage and the stages surrounding that one. And it's been some of the I think the best performances of this tour have come from breakaway guys instead of from the guys from the favorite group who could save their energy for that last short attack towards the end. And the guys like Alaphilippe are maybe really the stars of this tour.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we'll go into causing everybody a bit more misery by raising the percentage up another few percent here in this next 3-minute block that we're about to hit. One thing that I talked about at the start, and again we had talked about it, is one of the reasons why I feel the tour has been so difficult this year for a lot of riders is because we have hit the mountains later than normal. We have hit the mountains after 10 days. It was on a Tuesday. Normally they already would have hit the mountains on that first weekend. This week, during this tour, we were in the cobblestones of northern France, so we battered their bodies a lot more before we even hit the mountains, and that fatigue rating, really was paramount for the guys initially going into that first mountain stage. And actually, that was where Mikel Nieve set his peak 20-minute power for the whole stage, for the whole race so far on that first day. On that last climb of the first mountain stage, where it was 6 watts per kilo. But again, we've seen a lot of guys in around his seemed to be his go-to part of weight on that short stage. The 65-kilometer short stage was about 5.7 watts per kilo, and that was the limit of his, I say, comfort that he could do for extended periods of time. And it seems to be when guys like him start to bring it up to close to 6 watts per kilo, where in the first week or the second week they could do it for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Now they're only able to do it for 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and then they got to really start dialing it back, and that's where pacing at the minute comes in so crucial. So, but Nathan, I'm
trying to pace.
Pacing, Nathan, you're trying to pace. Yeah,
it's not hurting that bad. So, I lowered we lowered my FTP so I could do a little bit more today when it comes to the productions and everything, but still, the cadence, I'm just not used to this this cadence,
the high cadence,
getting it moving. You can see it constantly yelling at me. Let's talk a little bit more about group workout mode for those who might not be familiar. They might know that there's workouts you can do. This is an event where everyone's doing the same thing, right? Based on their FTP.
Yeah. It's the beauty of us doing this is that everybody's suffering the same amount. Some people might be going faster, but everybody's basically suffering the same amount because we're obviously able to rationalize the effort between each people on their fitness. And what we're saying here, obviously you're starting to move up to, you're going up to 265 here, Nathan. So we're raising that percentage up to 105% of your set FTP at the minute.
Spin slower now, Stephen.
Trying to spin slower because again we're on really rolling terrain, so we're going up and down on these rolly climbs. So that's why we're bringing that cadence down. For those people who have done a lot of time trials or have watched a lot of time trials, you'll know that the perception is always certainly in modern day training methods is to try and spin to an optimal level. Everybody has a different ceiling of how they feel their cadence should be or what they're comfortable in. But because of the actual terrain the guys are riding over today, we're forcing you to bring that cadence down, specifically at the end where we're doing that last, sort of big 1 kilometer climb, which is going to take us 2 minutes to go up. We're really bringing that down to 75 RPM. So just be aware for everybody, this last bit on that climb where you see at 28 kilometers, you're going to be hitting that quite fatigued. We'll already have done a long sort of threshold or sub-threshold workout, and then we're asking you to make quite a large muscular effort. So using that low cadence, using the real muscular power, and at that stage certainly try and focus on getting the power whatever way out possible. But for you here, Nathan, now again we've talked about it the last couple of days, when we're starting off on these rides, think of your technique, try and think of your positioning. Don't get too into the mind frame of trying to rock the body too much, because again we want to save as much energy for later on and focus on engaging your hips, engaging your glutes, keeping them shoulders from rocking as little as possible. And I know as the cadence as well gets harder, some people feel like they've got to roll a wee bit more to try and keep that cadence going. Again, try and concentrate on the technique as much as possible, because in the long run, having a good technique in the early part of this ride is certainly going to help you get that big power out later on in the ride.
Right on. So let's chat a little bit about where we're at in the stage then. So How does what's on the screen relate to where we're at in the stage? Maybe then relate that to what you think is going to happen today.
Well, regarding where we're at in the stage now, we're probably about 7 or 8 Ks in before any of the major climbs. So we've just done that first bit where it's dragged up slightly. At the start it kicks up, then we have that little where after this 3-minute effort with 2 minutes of going down to 90%. So you can see that it actually dips down a wee bit on at the start of the stage. So I think after about sort of 9 Ks, 10 Ks, we have a small downhill before we actually get to that first time check at 13 kilometers. So that's the point where we'll be going down to 90% on that 2 minutes where we're lowering our intensity. So, we're just trying to back off a wee bit, use that downhill slightly to try and recoup before we start bringing that effort back up. And then that time check at 13 kilometers is us going back up to 102% for 2 minutes, trying to raise that intensity up. So at the minute, we're just not far. We're 2 or 3 kilometers before that time check before we start dipping down to it. So, but as regards the ride, the actual race today, I don't know, Philippe, maybe you might have a view on who's going to win, what's going to happen, who's going to overtake who maybe on today's stage.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be one for the time trial specialists towards the beginning that are still in the race, and they're going to set some fast times, and then in the end all the favorites are going to probably blast past them, and just because they're still racing for GC, they're going to set some huge time. And I think there might be some surprises towards the end of the stage where people maybe get their pacing wrong. As you said, it's really important to pace yourself properly over this lumpy terrain in the beginning, and then still having something left for that climb in the end and the descent towards the finish. And I think some guys might just set blasting times in the first 2 intermediate splits until 20 kilometers or so, and then maybe completely blow up on the climb and really roll back towards the finish. And we might see some changes there where we think that some guys already have it in the back and then they blow up towards the end. And really, I think that Roglic has been flying these past couple of stages. He has been really strong in time trials in the past year or so, and he's going to be up there. I think Froome as well is going to have a good stage. He will want that stage win today. And he's been really good at pacing himself. Of course, we know he's always looking at his power meter. And I think he's going to be up there on that last climb. I think he set the fastest time on a similar climb last year on the Marseille's time trial, which was also the 20th stage. And he was really strong there. And I think Thomas is going to take it home. And Dumoulin, of course, I think he's always a favorite for a time trial. He actually took out 50 seconds from Thomas in the stage 10 time trial at the Giro last year, where Thomas was still in the Giro before dropping out two stages later. And I think that's a pretty good comparison between the two, because it was also like a 36 kilometer long time trial, which was pretty hilly. And Thomas had crashed on the stage before when they went up the Blockhouse climb, and he still just lost 50 seconds. So he should be good today.
Yeah, I think it's going to be real interesting. As you say, the pacing for the guys competing today, also for our guys and girls here on the Zwift workout as well. The pacing before you get to that last 2 minutes, because or that last climb, because anybody who hits that last climb and has overcooked it a wee bit early on can pay for it, especially with the gradient, especially with us trying to reduce the cadence as well in it. You can lose a lot of time, lose a lot of momentum. In Marseille last year, we've seen, I think Bardet lost a wee bit of time on that last climb. I think because he went really deep early on to try and keep that podium place, and I think it was Rigoberto Urán actually really, I think he was one of the fastest up that steep section in last year. He really used it, and I think he paced it perfectly. So it was. I think we're going to see a similar scenario.
Coming in here, talking about what you guys are talking about here a little bit. Top 3 remain the same. Is his prediction.
Mm-hmm.
Time will shift slightly, but not 2 minutes is his prediction. Philip, Steven, what do you guys think? Let's, Philip, you're smiling.
I think it's hard to predict that, because there's just 30 seconds between the second and the fourth, which is Dumoulin and Froome, and Roglic is in between. And it can even be just a small mistake on that last descent can make up these 13 seconds. So I wouldn't be too confident on predicting that, but I do agree that the first two are fixed, and then it's all about that third place on the podium.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Roglic.
Go ahead, Steven.
I'm going to go with Roglic. Yeah. So
wow.
I think it's So that's I'm just gonna put it out there now. So everybody can make fun of me later on when I come up with a wrong prediction. But I'm going to go. Roglic is going to take. Froome is going to lose out. I think slightly. Just on the last couple of days. So yeah, also I think it's going to happen.
Another one coming in from Andrew. Do you think G has it in the bag? And 2 out of 3 for the remaining podium places. Let's go to Philip first on that one.
I definitely think that Geraint Thomas has got the Tour de France in the bag. I think he's riding very confidently now, and he's not losing 2 minutes to Dumoulin in that time trial. And then again, I think Roglic is going to lose out, but I can understand how Steven thinks that he's going to make it, and he would definitely deserve it. He's been riding very actively. But I think Dumoulin and Froome just have that much more confidence and experience when it comes to time trials that late into a Grand Tour, and I think these 3 are going to be on the podium.
Steven?
Yeah, that's. I mean, the experience is, especially in this kind of course, is going to be probably as paramount as fitness. And as Philip says, I think experience and knowing how to pace it is absolutely crucial. I just think the fitness over the last couple of days of Froome, I think, has gone down quite a bit. Visibly over 2 or 3 stages, you could start to see it sort of go down. And I feel that he's going to be another 1 or 2% down after yesterday's stage, because it was very intensive yesterday. So, and I think Roglic is on the way up, and I think that's going to maybe outbalance the experience a wee bit. But it's going to be tight. I don't know. Yeah. I won't put a bet on it, but it's gonna be good. So.
Steven Smith's coming through again. So I think the stage will be Dumoulin, Roglic, and Froome. We will definitely be taking all the predictions at the end of the broadcast during the cool down. At 5 minutes, make sure to bring them all in. We will highlight them all, and it will be saved in the interwebs for you to go back and be like, see that? Right there?
I was right.
Right there. Yeah. That was my prediction.
Yeah.
So
that was my prediction.
We'll bring in the predictions at the cool down. Yeah. But chatting, looking forward here, it looks like the chat is already on it.
Yeah. Okay. So you're just on I'm seeing here, you're just starting to bring up the power up a weekend after.
You're starting to sweat a lot? Oh my gosh!
Yeah, you're starting to sweat. You're starting to sweat. So, we're just into 5 minutes at I think is it 93%. So we're starting to again ramp up that intensity a wee bit. Just get ready. We are going to be hitting a couple of climbs, pretty soon. So let's not go overboard in the actual intensity of this. But what I will say is try and concentrate on your cadence at the time. So if you can, try and bring that cadence up to 95 RPM, because we need to have a wee bit of suppleness in the legs before we get into that steep part. So if you reduce your cadence too much before you hit this steep section, you're going to suffer a lot more. So try and keep that 95 to 100. Anybody who maybe feels a little uncomfortable riding at these sort of high cadences, again, it's maybe something to help work on. I know there's lots of workouts here in Zwift and lots of different intensities that you can do to help improve your spinning and bring it up, but certainly is a great way to improve performance. And we have talked about it quite a lot over the last 3 weeks on how crucial using cadence is and using torque distribution is during training rides and during your intensity and how you're trying to develop. I know we've got loads of really good feedback from people who've done it, saying how much they've enjoyed it, how much they've been able to actually improve and see improvements, not so much from an aerobic improvement, but certainly from a muscular improvement of the recovery between efforts. So, and I think we have talked about it, Nathan. So just concentrate. You've got 2.5 minutes left here. Get through this next section, and then, we're really into the hard part of the stage. So, don't think too far ahead. Just get through this part. Try and keep your technique as good as possible. Avoid too much rocking. I don't like the rocking. Yeah.
I'm working on
Just
it. He's trying to kill the mountain biker in me. He's trying to
trying to kill
make me into a time trialist, and I'm sitting here looking for power.
Just bring out your inner Tom Dumoulin. Think of that. So use that as your persona today. Just if you,
We're not going full on red face though. That's for sure this time around.
No, not today. Not today. So well, we're still going, still ticking along nicely. But we have seen a couple of heart rates reaching 197 over the last couple of days. So anybody who hasn't joined us will know that.
Go back and
that is possible.
VODs.
We can't
all on YouTube. You want to see Nathan's heart rate hit 197? See the last 2 days. Today we brought it down a little bit.
Yeah.
But the last 2 days, were those difficult. We are not doing justice right now to how difficult these workouts are. I should not be talking, but.
Yeah. Well, anyway, your steep climb is coming up, so we're having far. We've just about a minute and a half or so just before we hit these steep efforts. And anybody, again, we said before, kicking in the ERG, give yourself 10 seconds or so whenever we're changing that, we're changing that cadence and into that next power zone. It takes a while maybe just to kick in to try and balance out that rhythm a wee bit. So, just be careful coming into that, and it'll set itself out. So.
Andrew bringing in a good question. Is Nathan doing these workouts for 3 weeks straight? Talk about the athletes that have shown up, though. I mean, geez. These guys, I got so much respect because I'm only doing the last 3. These guys showing up. What are they getting for this, Stephen?
Yeah, well, so we have been we've been tracking people that have been doing it here for 3 weeks straight. So anybody who has been doing it for 3 weeks straight, they're getting free 10 weeks coaching from us at Dig Deep Coaching, and we've also got a sign up for anybody who wants also the workouts that wants to do them in their own time. So we've put a link in the comments down below. So click on that, and you'll get all the workouts, and you'll get emails sent from us regarding discounts. We're actually looking at bringing in specific coaching service and training plans for anybody who has joined us, and discounts on anybody who has joined us on the Zwift. So click on that and you'll be able to learn about that in the next week or two. But yeah, there is free coaching for anybody who has completed it for 3 weeks. Unfortunately, Nathan will not be one of them because he's only done it for the last 2 days, 3 days.
So we got plans to put me through the ringer anyways. I think we got plans to put me through the ringer anyways. Let's bring this over to the coaches. Stephen and Philip, rocking equals energy wasted. That's almost a question, because I'm doing plenty of it. Why am I doing that? Can you tell me why we don't want to do that?
I'll let Philippe answer that one. So I think he'll be.
I mean, everyone has this very specific style, but I think generally, if you're rocking too much, it can be energy wasted. If it's still under control, I think at some point your body will just adapt to doing it. And I think for you, it's just your specific style, and it's not as much as, for example, guys like Froome. They look terrible on the bike. You actually good while you're doing it. You look pretty powerful when you're rocking. And I think it's just your way of producing the energy. But everyone knows this guy maybe in his club or out on the road, guys you're meeting that are just on the climbs. They look like they're grinding up there. And they also usually have this very low cadence, and it's just so much energy going to waste instead of really going into the pedals and onto the road. I think everyone knows that for themselves, and when you just notice halfway up a maybe 10-minute climb or so that you're already fatiguing while you're riding at your threshold, it might be due to your riding style, and you should look at it. But most guys, most people just tend towards what they're comfortable with, and as long as it's working for you, you're fine. I'm always telling people to look at Froome, and it has been working for him for a couple of years now. He's been winning 4 Tour de France's and some other big races. So I think we shouldn't be too hard on people looking different on bikes.
Yeah, and Froome isn't the nicest to look at sometimes on a bike, but he's doing good. So, we're just over our. He'll get used to it. He'll come good. But yeah, we're just over that steep section.
Just got done with something really difficult.
Okay.
What did I just do?
So you just got over that. You just done that steep section. You just came over the top of that climb, and now you're in the sort of you're in the home straight, as they say. So on this here, you'll just see we've gone over that. We've gone over that large climb there with after 28 kilometers. It's quite a fast, run in down into Esplanade into the finish. But where in the past, we've come on the downhills, we've eased off the gas a wee bit and used it as recovery. In a time trial, we can't do this, so we've got to keep our foot on the pedal, and we've really got to keep that gas going as much as possible, and really try and get as much as we can out of this last 5 minutes. For anybody that has a wee bit more energy in the legs, now's the time to use that this last 5 minutes. Pretty much as much as you can give. So coming into the finish, so just don't blow up too much in the last minute or two. But if you can, give it all you have, like coming in this last section.
So that, though, for riders who are in ERG mode, we got a cool little button.
Yeah,
I just used.
Yeah, you can also up your FTP as well. So and bring your zone up a wee bit. So if you feel like you've got a wee bit more left in the tank, I suspect that a lot of people probably won't have much left in the tank. That riding at 95% of your FTP is hard enough, especially as we've spent the last 25 minutes or so pretty much on the giving it full biscuit. So but yeah, this is the last run in down to the finish, and you say we haven't that far to go. So you'll be glad to get it done.
I think Nathan has just upped his intensity by 10% or so.
120.
Ooh.
Went from 90
20%.
to 110%.
Oh.
Here we go.
Maybe
Here
we
we go.
will see that now.
Here we go.
90 BPM again.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I want to see the 200 today, Nathan. So yeah, that's a big call. 295, Nathan. You need to start boosting that up. If you can keep it in around the 300 mark.
Well, we did lower the FTP overall, so we're just up to just underneath regular FTP. But I'm starting to breathe. Ooh, talking's difficult.
We also, what we also see here with your power is, you're going back to your go-to cadence where for you're quite dominant and going down the gears to use a bigger gear, lowering your cadence, and I think that's something we have talked about, and again probably something a lot of people, it's a benefit to try and improve that. You don't always feel like you want to go down the gears to mash it out. At times, of course, you do need to sort of mash out them big gears and get the power through. But again, we've seen for you, it's you do like going down the gears whenever you're getting into that red zone and the legs are starting to burn. So, but again, we can work on that, Nathan. Something we can work out in the future. So
standing up at the end of the TTs, though. Talk to that, guys.
Yeah, well, some guys at the last, they just spurting everything out. Philippe?
Yeah, probably. Sometimes you see some riders really sprinting for it in the last 30, 40 seconds, and usually that's a sign that they haven't paced themselves perfectly over the course of the TT, because you shouldn't have that much energy left when you're going on the finish line. You should be barely hanging on, and if you're still able to sprint, you will probably have lost a lot of time somewhere along the course. So if you see these guys really sprinting for it, they have mistimed the effort. Usually, some guys can just suffer a bit more than others, but usually it's a sign for bad pacing, actually.
Yeah, and that's 100% true. And you see, being able to flatline that effort, that okay, they might raise it that last 2 or 3 kilometers, but it's very flatlined misery, should we say, and pain that but they can't get out of the saddle and really sprint. Maybe the last 10 seconds, that last wee bit. But yeah, like I say, it normally is down to a lot of times down to pure pacing, because you shouldn't have that many bullets left at the end of the stage to put out. So, but I don't think we're going to see Nathan sprinting too much here at the end. So, I reckon, Nathan, we could. We're starting to see 180 BPM. We've got a bit more ceiling to go here. So you've a wee bit of time. That's it. Just not long left. You'll be glad you won't need to do this maybe tomorrow.
Oh, speaking of tomorrow, okay. Oh my goodness, we're bringing it back.
Well done.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
ERG,
That's
ERG hates me. I stopped pedaling. Don't just stop pedaling. They don't hate me. Oh. Woo. Haynes. Aaron Dunn. Aaron Dunn is saying on a trainer. Here, let's get him in here. Actually, last year's winner of the Australian Ecrit. Last year's winner, Australian Ecrit, hanging out with us, says...
All right, cool. Welcome.
On the trainer, racing, he tends to sit between 70 and 80. Okay, I can totally relate to this. I have the same exact thing. So I'm like 70 to 80. And then in real life, I'll go outside and people will be like, dude, your cadence is amazing. And like, I ride inside almost exclusively. So is there a reason that the consistency or something helps out, or the way that you train on a trainer? That's a great question from Aaron Dunn. Go ahead,
I'm not an expert.
Okay, sorry.
Stephen, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm not an expert on physics, but I think it has something to do with you not having any kinetic energy while you're riding indoors, and keeping up the kinetic energy and the momentum when you're riding on the road, either in the flat, but still on the climbs as well. It's just that easier to put out that cadence because you have that kinetic energy and you're moving. While when you're just on that steady trainer, it's just that much harder because everything has to come from your own core and from your own muscle. It's just a bit different, and you can see that even on the road when you're riding in the flat. It's easier for most people to ride at 90, maybe 95 RPM, and when you're hitting the climbs and you're trying to keep that cadence, it becomes that much harder. And it's even harder when you're on a steady trainer, especially in erg mode, or when you're on Zwift, then you're really having the trainer difficulty at 100%, and you're really feeling the climbs. It's just difficult to stick at the cadence. But that's also why the trainer is a great tool to train cadence, because when you're able to keep it up and high at the 90 range when you're on the trainer, it's even easier for you when you're out on the road.
Gotcha.
Momentum. Yeah, momentum.
About the momentum.
Yeah, I mean, I think indoor riding, improving cadence. We do a lot of work with our athletes indoors, not too much to improve aerobic power, whatever, but certainly cadence. And cadence drills, specific cadence. You're taking out the environment, you're taking out the wind, the terrain, traffic, whatever that may be. And as Philip said, the actual energy and the momentum that you get from riding continuously outdoors, the wind, uphill, downhill, and whatever, it's obviously easier to keep that spinning going. Your body feels a lot more natural to be able to spin slightly more. Even if you're not a natural spinner, it's slightly easier. And again, that's probably why you find the difference whenever you're indoors, that it feels your go-to indoors is slightly lower. So
great call on that.
Hopefully that answers
nice spot there to Aaron Dunn. And thanks for tuning in with us. So
yeah, thank you.
We're into the cool down here. This is prediction time. We had Stephen Smith come through with a solid prediction. I think he said he's trying to give us 1, 2, 3. We'll see if this ends up being it. But he said Dumoulin, Roglic, and Froome is going to be the stage. That's Dumoulin does look super motivated, and is a strong I mean, if he's going to do something, I think. Today's the day to try. I'm not sure all the other stages suited him as much. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I'm shooting that out there. But what do you guys think? What's your guys' predictions on the day? And chat, let us know what your predictions are on the day, and we'll get them out here.
Philip, I'll let you predict the winner of the stage, who you feel, and then I'll say mine. I'm not going to copy you, honest.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to throw out one favorite that I think is going to win the stage, and that is, to me, is Dumoulin. And then one wild card that to me is Stefan Kung from BMC Racing. He's been out there. He's been riding some great GTs this year. He's super strong. He's one of the big guys for the future, and I think for a heavy guy, he's actually been doing quite well on the climbs this year in the Tour. I think he's around 45 or so in the GC right now. So I think he might be one to set a strong early time and then maybe stay up there. But generally, I think Dumoulin is going to win the GT.
Good prediction. That's a lot of those coming through. What about you, Stephen?
Yeah, I think for me, I think Geraint Thomas is going to win the time trial. I just think because how twisty and turny it is, and also that steep climb at the end. He has had a lot of punch. If we've seen at the top of these climbs as well, he's been, has a lot of punch in that last sort of 1 or 2 minutes. And I feel that, if he can take 10 or 15 seconds out of some of the guys on that last steep climb potentially that he won't be too far off. And again, just with the twists and turns in it. So I've got Geraint Thomas down and
Philip's
as
got,
Mr. GC and
Dumoulin, and then you got
Dumoulin.
Geraint, but he's also got a wild card out there. I think it's a good call out.
So
not just have the favorites actually. So Stephen Koop, you said, is that what it was?
Stefan Kung, yes.
Stefan Koop.
Stefan Kung. My wild card would probably be the guy from Barra Hansgrove, who won last year. What's he called?
Is he riding? I wasn't sure. That's why I picked Kung.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he is. I'm pretty sure if his name has left me now. That's how bad I am. He did win last year's. Somebody's going to tell us.
We got
Andy Harrison.
Maciej Bodnar. Maciej Bodnar.
Yeah, Bodnar. So Bodnar
is
the
wild card. That's the wild card.
That's a good call. That's a good call.
That's my wild card. So.
All right, and then we got Aaron Dunn coming in with Roglic, and that's a great call. And nobody's called that out yet, actually. And I'm gonna have a hard pick here because no one's gonna be left. No, I said Dumoulin. So and then we got Smith.
You can pick Froome.
I can pick Froome. Fine. So who will tank? That's a great question coming from Holly. We'll talk about that in a second. And then Aaron Locks is saying GT for the stage win. So there's the call outs from chat so far. Then Andy Harrison is actually changing. Oh no, he's just letting us know Bodnar is the name there, I believe. But so who will tank? That is a good question as well. So we had predictions on who is going to win. Who is going to tank it? Who is not looking good right now? Who's looking like there might be some struggling on the TT today, perhaps? Let's go, Philip. What are you thinking? If you got something there,
I think there's a danger that Kruijswijk might lose some time and might actually lose out on Landa, and of course Bardet is always in danger of tanking in ETT. And then I think someone also wrote in the chat that there's a danger maybe of Thomas not standing upright, and that's one thing that I had in mind as well, that last descent or even one of the twistier turns early on the stage, there's a chance for a crash at least there, and I'm just hoping that doesn't happen. But generally, I think Bardet and also Kruijswijk look as good in the Pyrenees as they maybe did in the Alps, and that's a danger for sure.
On that there. And what, Stephen, you got anybody who might be like, today might be a rough day for him?
Yeah, well, I think Bardet was going to be my initial sort of think. I also think the Russian for Katusha. Again, his name is Zakharin. I don't think he's going to perform today. I think this, yesterday he was struggling a wee bit on the descent. On some of the corners, he was losing the wheel. So I think today is definitely going to be another notch up, providing he's got to do it on a time trial bike and lots of twists and turns. So I think he might. I'm not sure how far he's got to 11th place because he's 10th at the minute. So I don't know if he can lose a top 10 potentially if he doesn't perform well today. Philippe is about to tell us. So I think that would be a big disappointment if he did lose out.
Yeah, I think Jungels is behind him, but he's more than 3 minutes behind him. And I think Jungels will perform today for sure. He's a super strong time trialist, but I think he's safe and he just won't risk as much. But Zakharin has been looking good these past few days. I think he's been one of the strongest guys on the climbs. And I actually think that he might be able to overtake Quintana, who looked pretty bad yesterday.
That's right. Yeah.
Before, and it's a
Quintana's been suffering.
Never know. Yeah, he has been.
And let's take a quick look, guys, at the workout here then, and what I actually accomplished. Now, we did lower my FTP a little bit today, so you'll see the numbers a little lower than they were earlier in the day. We did that because I didn't sleep since our last workout, essentially, but it was like jumping right back on the bike. But that's fine. We're having a good time with this. As you can see, it's been great, actually. And actually, a little shout out to everybody at Wausau 24. This is like my Wausau 24, the 24-hour mountain bike race locally going on. So if anybody happens to be on their Facebook and tuning in and getting ready for that or out there racing, this is my Wausau 24 nonstop here with Big Deep Coaching. But 212 average we saw. 66 TSS is what I got out of this. You know, pretty good for how short the effort actually is, because 47 minutes, that's including the warm-up. So solid effort based on FTP here. You can see all the different zones. Great little, I mean, we haven't talked a lot to the screen, but this is actually a really great ending screen here when you do use workout mode.
Yeah.
Like what it tells you here.
Yes, brilliant.
Here, Stephen.
It's really good. I mean, we can see your cardiac drift there going up over the duration of the effort. Obviously, you know, it was more, you know, the percentages were starting to go up a lot more with your heart rate as you raised your FTP. And I think what we seen yesterday was whenever you were set at the, I suppose, a more reasonable FTP, that, you know, your heart rate got high and stayed at a very high level and didn't have that peak at the end because your heart couldn't go any higher because you were pretty much at your limit for, you know, 7, 8, 9 minutes. Where today you were able to notch it up slightly and bring that at the end on that steep section. So again, you can see that drift as it goes along. So, but as you get fitter, Nathan, we'll be able to keep it 100% of your FTP, and you'll have a good drift, and you'll still be able to push up at the end. So
we're determined to make that happen. It looks like we're looking forward to something in the future on ZCL and Drift Community Live. Yeah. All right, guys. I really appreciate it.
Coming up, so.
Say that one more time. We got the Vuelta coming up. Is that Philip
saying? Yeah, the Vuelta coming up. Maybe you can do the 3 weeks there.
Oh man, these guys! That'll take over my life. All right. Well, this actually, we're getting some questions coming through here that are relevant to that. Will 21 be live streamed? 21 will not be live streamed. This is our last live stream for Dig Deep Coaching. So thanks everybody who's tuned in for all of the live streams. Been really awesome. Congratulations to those who've got 20 done so far. There's only one more to go for those of you who are looking to finish all of the stages. Again, this is a program that has been replicating the winning moves in the Tour de France throughout all 21 stages, a virtual Grand Tour out on Zwift with Dig Deep Coaching. And we'll say goodbye to our two coaches here before we take off here. Philip, Stephen, thanks so much for putting me through the ringer today.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks for everybody taking part.
Yep. Cheers, guys. Cheers. Appreciate you guys. All right. And I'm Nathan Guerra, full of sweat here, mess here. And I really appreciate everybody that's tuned in, though, and all the viewers. Great job to all the riders out there. If you want to catch any of our VODs, you want to catch any of the past workouts, make sure to head on over to our YouTube for our VODs, our videos on demand. All of everything that goes out on ZCL can be found over there. If you do want more information on Dig Deep Coaching, their link is in the chat over at Zwift's Facebook. Otherwise, it's just digdeepcoaching.com. And specifically for signups for these last workouts, if you still want to get into that newsletter, it is digdeepcoaching.com/GT2018. And that's going to be it for me for today. Have fun watching the tour today, and we'll see how your predictions turned out. And as always, ride on.